am Dr. Camille Hammond, CEO of the Tanina Q. Cade Foundation, and I am super excited to have lunch with you today. Our topic for today for Coffee with Cade is something that is very near and dear to my heart and to what we do here at the Cade Foundation. We are going to be talking about grants for fertility treatment and adoption for families who have a need for financial support. So I'm going to wait another minute or so. I see we've got a couple people who've already logged in on Facebook and Instagram. Hello, everybody. Hi, good morning. I'm so excited to have you. Before we get started, have you put something in your cup? Because I sure have. And at the end, we're definitely going to be talking about what's in our cups. So in the meanwhile, how's everybody doing? You guys getting ready for the race for the family? Did you know we were having a 5K at the Maryland Zoo where we will be awarding one lucky participant with a raffle award, which is going to be $10,000 in fertility treatment at Shady Grove Fertility, our presenting sponsor. So have you registered yet? If not, there's still plenty of time. We're going to be at www.raceforthefamily.com. And we'll have a 5K. We'll have a 1.5 mile family fun walk. You can walk it. You can run it. We've already received our finisher medals, and they are super duper cute. I will show you one of those at the end of this broadcast. And we've got lots of other great things happening. But raceforthefamily.com is the next very important event, and I hope to meet you in person. Coming out is just a wonderful way to connect and engage in community and to learn and see that you are certainly not alone. We will be taking over the Maryland Zoo as well as the Druid Hill Park area. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So thank you for joining me again. Camille Hammond with the Tanina Q. Cade Foundation. And we're going to be talking today about grants for fertility treatment and adoption. So, and remember, this is a conversation, not a presentation. So I'm going to be doing a lot of talking, but please send in your comments, send in your questions. This is a great time to engage. And if you have information about additional programs that I'm not aware of, please share them, and we'll make sure that we post them both to our website and share them with the families that are plugged in with the Cade Foundation. So Cade has been awarding families with grants of up to $10,000 for 12 years. We have 92 families who we have provided family building grants to, and these families come from throughout the nation. So we fund adoption, child adoption. We fund fertility treatment. And by fertility treatment, I mean basically anything that is done at a licensed accredited fertility center here in the U.S. So we fund everything from intrauterine insemination to donor gametes, donor egg, donor sperm, to IVF, to gestational carrier. And so we fund everything. So if you have a need for grants, the Cade Foundation Family Building Grant is certainly a great one to consider. And information is available online right now about our family building grant at www.cadefoundation.org. That's CADE foundation.org. Now, we have been doing it for a long time, and I think at this point, we've probably given out more grants than any other organization in the nation, but there are some outstanding other charities that support families with funds for adoption and fertility treatment, both at the local, state level, the regional level, and also the national level. We happen to be an organization that is privileged to be able to give out grants nationally, but we also have one grant that is specific to families from Shady Grove Fertility. It's called the Savannah Grant. And so applicants from Shady Grove are eligible for both our national award as well as our award that is specific to that clinic. So I'm going to just kind of go down the list. Let's start with medication awards, because those would be appropriate for people who were having different types of fertility treatments. Both EMD Serono and Ferring Pharmaceuticals offer support. EMD Serono has a program called the Fertility Lifelines, and you can find information at fertilitylifelines.com. And it's discounted medications, significantly discounted medications, based on your income. And Ferring has a program called it's just the Ferring Discount Fertility Medications Program, and you can get information about that at ferring-fertility.com/paying-for-treatment. It's also called the Heartbeat Program, so you could probably just Google the Ferring Heartbeat Program to learn about that. But those are medication grants, and that would provide discounts and support for the fertility medications. And for more information, you could visit those websites that I've shared, or you could talk with your fertility clinic if you are already getting care at a fertility clinic. Or feel free to give us a call at the Cade Foundation. We're always able to and happy to answer questions. We also have all of this information on the resource page of the Cade Foundation's website. So that's cadefoundation.org/resources. And all of this information, all of these links are going to be available right on that website. So moving on, there are many clinics that have a heart for families who at least one member has engaged in some type of military service. And you may already be being treated at a clinic that does have a discount program or some additional support for families that one or both partners, or if it's just a single person, that you have a history of service in our military. So one thing I would recommend for every single person who's watching this to do is talk with a financial counselor at your clinic about whether or not they have some support for families who have engaged in military service. You might find that you're already being treated someplace and they didn't know you all had a history of military service, and that's why you weren't getting the additional discounts when they're available. And for information about all the clinics, and there are so many of them that honestly, I'm not going to start down that path. But if you go to the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, you can get a comprehensive, I'm so sorry, not Robert Wood Johnson, the Wounded Warrior Foundation. You can get information about all of the clinics that they're aware of, and they're the organization that does a great job at tracking this. You can get information about all the clinics that do have some type of discount or incentive program for members of the current or active and veteran members of our armed forces. So moving on, and I love that you all are listening. I see that we've got a good number of people who are plugged in both on Facebook and on Instagram, but this is going to be so much better if you talk to me. So, is this the type of information that you want? Is there different types of information that you'd like? And just kind of give me some feedback. But while I do that, I'm going to continue. There are a number of organizations that offer, and right now I'm focusing on the fertility treatment side. I will migrate to the adoption side in a few minutes. So there are a number of organizations that offer fertility treatment grants, and Cade Foundation is one of them, and I think that it's great to apply for the grants. One caveat is everyone doesn't fund everything, and so it's important that you read these applications very carefully to ensure that you are applying for a grant that you are qualified for. Some exclusions can include, some groups only fund people that don't have children. Some groups fund people that are from a specific clinic. and some fund people that are living in a certain state. The application deadlines are different places, so it would be a shame for you to go through the process of applying for something and you didn't read the fine print and saw that, the deadline had already passed. Okay, I just see an email. If I submitted an application in spring, February 1, can I submit the same grant app for the fall? Would applicants know their grant app was accepted or not? How soon notified? So I'll say for the Cade Foundation, we are going to be sending out notifications today, actually, about our family building grant. So for Cade, check your email somewhere around 3 to 4 o'clock, between 3 and 4, and we will be sending out those notices. But if you have applied in the past, yes, you can absolutely submit the same information that you submitted for the last cycle. Unfortunately, you're going to have to copy and paste that back into the application. We don't keep anything. Everything is shredded. Everything that's printed is shredded. And that's really to protect your privacy. We don't want anyone to be able to say, Cade kept my information and they're using it in a way that I did not intend. So for your privacy and just our knowledge that we've done the right thing by everyone, we don't keep that information. But if you apply for the Cade grant, you will receive and you didn't get funded, you're going to receive a discount code in your notification letter. And that will provide a discount off of any and every single Cade Foundation event for the year. So, you would still be able to reapply, and you'll get that discount code that you can use. Nicole, I hope that answered your question. So moving on, I'm going to just list a number of organizations that do provide fertility treatment grants. And these include, in no particular order, and I'll also say Cade doesn't endorse any of these. This is just information that we're sharing that we found that's still active on the internet. So, I would say apply and see what happens. Actually, before I say that, please be careful to submit applications to the right organization. I know that several families have submitted grant applications to us that were for another organization. And I think it's great when families decide to apply to many organizations for grant support. I think that's outstanding. I encourage it and support it. But please don't send an application for Group A to Group B because, it's a waste of everyone's time to have to read through that. And your application gets set to the side. You're not reviewed. So just be mindful of who you're sending information to so that you can continue to be considered. And also, no one wastes their time looking at an application that's actually not intended for them. I see another email question on Facebook. Thank you. Are there any grants for donor eggs or embryo adoptions? And so donor eggs and embryo adoptions fall under the mantle of fertility treatment. And you would have to look at the specific guidelines for each application to see, if the grants that you were applying for would cover embryo adoption or donor eggs. But for the Cade Foundation, we would consider that fertility treatment, and you would be able to apply for support from Cade to cover those things. But again, read the fine print for all of these applications so that you don't waste your time and you're submitting for an award that you would actually qualify to receive. Okay, so in no particular order, Footsteps for Fertility Foundation, Pound the Pavement. I'm sorry, I don't believe that one is still active. Pay It Forward Foundation, the Baby Quest Foundation, the Attain Fertility. They have an IVF refund program, so that's not necessarily a grant. but that is a discount program. And actually many of the clinics will also they also have an IVF refund or a bundled cycle program. So if you're not aware whether or not your clinic has this, you need to make an appointment with the financial services person at your clinic and just talk to them about whether they have a program where they will give you your money back if you don't get pregnant. That's a great resource. Often the clinics do require that you pay for, a certain number of cycles. So it's not one cycle and you get your money back. It may be 3 cycles or 5 cycles that you have to pay for in advance. And then if you don't get pregnant, then you would get your money back. We just got another question online. Do you have grants for international adoptions? So you would have to read kind of the inclusion and exclusion criteria for all of the organizations that offer the grants, because some may say that they fund international adoptions. Cade Foundation does not. So our grants will cover pretty much any fertility treatment or any treatment that is intended to get you pregnant. So we don't cover things like, reversal of a tubal ligation or a vasectomy. We would only fund the actual treatment of infertility, and we don't fund treatments at non-accredited service providers. So you have to be treated at a fertility clinic or an adoption agency, although we do also fund private adoption. So we would fund both agency-based and lawyer-based adoption, but the fertility treatment would have to be performed at a fertility clinic. Nicola, to answer your question, there may be other organizations that would fund international adoption. So you will just have to look online for that information. Okay, so moving on, Journey to Parenthood and Inside, INCIID. These are all organizations that provide fertility grants, and they provide them at a national level. So anyone from throughout the nation would be eligible to apply. Kristen, I see that we have a question on Instagram and I can't see that. So if you could share that with me, I would appreciate that. I'm going to move on while Kristen gets that to me. For state-based support, we have Parental Hope, Inc., the New York State Infertility Demonstration Program. That's a mouthful, but it is a great resource for New York State residents. The Fertility Foundation of Texas, Gift of Hope, the Madeline Gordon Gift of Life Foundation. And once again, the Tanina Q. Cade Foundation does have a grant available to Shady Grove fertility patients. It's called the Savannah Grant, and the application is the same as the grant for our national, if you apply for our pool of national funds, same grant. We just set those who come from Shady Grove aside and look at them again. The Life Foundation, lifefindsaway.org. The Kyle and Samantha Bush Bundle of Joy. Sarah's Laughter. Sparkles of Life. It's a great organization I believe it's in Houston, Sparkles of Life. The Angels of Hope Foundation. And the Jewish Free Loan Association, and I believe they give out grants and loans with a 0% interest rate. Team Maggie for a Cure, the Thrive Cancer Fertility Network, the SAM Fund, and these are grants that are specific to individuals who have someone from the family who has a history of cancer. Bonei Olam, Bonei Olam International, and Small Wonders Canada. So at this point, I'm going to talk a little bit about the organizations that offer support for adoption. So Kristen, okay. All right. So I'm going to move on to adoption. And there are so many organizations that provide support for adoption. An excellent resource to learn about all these organizations is fundyourownadoption.tv. Again, fundyourownadoption.tv. I think that there are over 100 organizations. I'm going to read some of them, though. The ABBA Fund, ABBA, A Child Awaits, Adoption Hope Foundation, Adoption is Love Fund, Adoption Story Fund, Adopt Together, African American Adoptions Online, Agape Adoptions Zoe Fund, Angels of Hope, and that actually does fund embryo adoption. So let me see. Shanae, you asked about embryo adoptions. They fund that. So Angels of Hope, Baby Quest Foundation does fund embryo adoptions. And Bundle of Joy Fund also funds embryo adoption. So those are groups that fund embryo adoptions. Bethany's Caring Connection Fund, Brittany's Hope, The Chance of Hope, Dream for Adoption. And if you go to that website that I listed, fundyouradoption.tv, you will see all of these organizations, and you will also see their deadlines. Again, the deadlines vary from organization to organization, and the qualifications also vary. So make sure that you pay special attention to that. I do have a little bit of, so I'm not going to continue because there are, like I said, at least 100 of these organizations that provide support for adoption, whether it be child adoption, embryo adoption, domestic and international adoption. Please repost my question on I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. If you posted the question on Instagram, please repost because we can't see it, and I'd be happy to answer it. So a few notes. Make sure that if you have a personal statement, and all of these organizations are going to ask for a personal statement, reread it before you send it out to everyone. The reason I say that is if you've mentioned organization A in the personal statement, organization B doesn't want to see organization A's name. They want to see that you have really tailored the application to them. And Kristen, I see that the question was reposted. So just reread it and make sure that you put in the right organization so that it looks like you actually are applying for that grant. Some organizations don't expect for you to do anything. They're happy for you to receive the money, and they hope that you are successful in building your family, and that's good enough. Cade Foundation is not one of those organizations. We really have a commitment to giving back and to reinvesting in the community. So if you apply to Cade, then you need to do it with the expectation of giving back and being a resource for others in your community. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to mean that you are serving as the keynote for a conference talking about your experience. But if we ask that you speak at an event, we really do expect that, if you receive our funds, that you're understanding that expectation and that you're going to be open to that. So think about what the organizations have said in advance about the expectation for grant recipients, and know that everything is not necessarily going to be a good fit for you, and that's okay. You don't have to, just like every pair of shoes doesn't fit and every color may not be your favorite, you don't have to agree with or want to apply for every grant because you may say, well, I wouldn't be comfortable with that. And that's okay. But don't apply. And then if you get the grant, then say, well, I applied because I didn't think I would get it. And I really don't want to do this because, people have already told you in advance, this is what we want for the people that apply. This is what we expect from our grant recipients. So just know what you're getting into before you start.